I'm going to talk a bit about post-traumatic stress disorder, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm going to relate it to some people's growing up experiences. They may not realize this. You're born. Okay, we're born. And not everyone is born into an ideal situation. Sometimes one's parent may have the kind of mental illness that can detract from the care of the child. Sometimes there can be violence in the home that also takes attention and creates fear and a lack of safety. So, again, our attention is elsewhere. Sometimes one's parenting style isn't conducive to meeting the needs of children. So in some homes, the child is born, and when the child goes wah, signaling distress, and I'm not talking big distress, I'm talking normal things like I have a dirty diaper, I'm hungry, I'm bored and need to be coochie coochie cooed. So in some families, the parents may be responsive and, oh, what's the matter, Gary? Come here, let's change the diaper or feed you or coochie coo you. And then on other occasions, when I go wah, signaling a need, maybe the parent isn't responsive. Maybe they are sheltering themselves from things that are going on, be it internally in their mind or externally, maybe with a difficult partner. And then on other occasions, when I go wah, maybe that is, in a sense, the straw that breaks the camel's back for the parent. It pushes them over an edge where they can't tolerate, where they can't manage, and so in that they lash out to the child for going wah, don't go wah, and now that parent is the source of my distress as a wee one. And so if I grow up in that kind of context, I learn to have antennae scanning. What is the disposition of my parent today or parents today? If I go, if I express a need, what will happen? Perhaps I have a parent that is somewhat unpredictable. Maybe there's issues of drugs and or alcohol, and I'm watching them imbibe whatever their drug of choice is. And as I'm watching them, I'm monitoring that because the degree to which they imbibe, there may be an alteration of personality, and they may be harsh towards me. With all of that, I don't know that I can trust my parents to care for me reasonably appropriately. And then, I'm missing attention, I'm missing care, I'm missing being validated. And quite frankly, that can make me vulnerable. So if somebody comes to me with bad intentions, with a view to exploit me sexually, they may touch me, they may make inappropriate use of me or have me do things on them. And I don't feel safe telling my parents, so I keep this in, and it's a devil's bargain. Part of me may appreciate the attention, but the other part of me doesn't appreciate the how of the attention, and I'm discombobulated. Then maybe there is an ending in the relationship between my parents, and a social amputation. I'm cut off from a parent, for better or for worse, but I'm cut off from a parent. So the stability of people there, good or bad even, is undetermined. All of these things can contribute to complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And so much of it, if not all of it for some people, is beyond the awareness of that child come teenager, come adult. But these are that person's formative experiences. This teaches the child basic structures of trust, confidentiality, limits, reciprocity in a relationship. And I do want a relationship. And so when I enter into one, I enter into it with spidey sense, and I don't necessarily know what I'm reading. And because I've had such extreme experiences, if in my reading I concern myself because, oh, it triggers a feeling that I had when things were awful. Now I'm going to respond in the here and now to that trigger as if it is awful, when indeed it could be a misunderstanding. And if I deal with the misunderstanding as if it's such a threat to the person, I project on that other. I attribute to them things that may not be reasonable to that person, to which they would naturally object. Why are you treating me like this? I only raised my voice, and raising a voice isn't uncommon. But in your experience, it might have led to things very harsh and abusive or violent, or drugs or alcohol, and a parent not being well, and conflict and violence between the parents. So there is this complex post-traumatic stress disorder that originates from experiences within the family that negatively contribute to issues in adult life. One has to unpack those issues, typically with a therapist, so that one can, in a sense, let's put them there so that we can look at them more dispassionately, more from our head, not our heart, and think about that and come to appreciate the impact of those experiences, not just back then, but as I say, with long legs, how they've carried into the here and now. So I see many people where these kinds of issues are at play. And that challenge of catching oneself when triggered. And then as one catches oneself, rather than immediately going to behavior, putting some, let me check out these feelings. Does the enormity of the feeling that is signaling the possibility of harm, is it reasonable, or is it disproportionate to what is going on and to how this other person actually is? And so how do I manage that in myself? So by being able to reflect, by becoming aware of the impact of those events on current life, and then by catching oneself, by being self-analytical, so you can say to your partner, I don't know where this is going, but I gotta tell you, I just realized that I was triggered when you raised your voice. A reasonable partner will go, oh, okay, sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. The partner wouldn't even know to say that had you not self-reflected and used your voice and was authentic and transparent in the moment to signal that, so that, oh, okay. No, I don't mean to scare you. I'm just annoyed. Oh. So there's a real benefit to understanding what may be leading to why do you have this spidey sense. Not everyone has that because they don't have those kinds of experiences where they're forever having to scan the environment. Not everyone has that. And you know, it can work for you, it can work against you. If you are truly in an abusive relationship, you know what? Maybe having that spidey sense now is a good signal. But alternately, maybe it's a misfire in a sense in terms of your understanding of the signal. I don't know. I'm hoping all this makes sense, so that with this information about complex post-traumatic stress disorder, you may want to reflect on yourself, your growing up experiences, and how they may have long legs into present relationships, and whether that's an intimate relationship or a relationship with a colleague at work or a peer or a boss. All of this still applies. It's not just within intimate relationships. I'm Gary Derenfeld. I'm a social worker. www.yoursocialworker.com. I hope this was of service. Bye, folks.